IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda has travelled to upstate New York and the shores of Seneca Lake. Not for them though, the relaxation, the fabulous warm welcome and the local hostelries. No, it's all about Watkins Glen International. 3.4 miles of some of the best tarmac in the world. There's been racing at Watkins Glen since the late 1940s, and in the mid-1950s, the permanent circuit that we now know as Watkins Glen International was first laid down. Through the years, it's placed host to Formula One, IndyCar, NASCAR, and now IMSA calls this challenging 11-corner circuit its home in this part of the world too. Action areas at the downhill braking area for turn 1, the super quick chicane, the inner loop on the back straight, and up over the top of the rise into the tricky right-hander at turn number 8, the heel of the boot. Hello everybody, I'm John Hindhaugh from IMSA Radio, welcoming you along to a festival weekend of sports car and endurance racing. A huge crowd on hand, they're knowledgeable, they're passionate, and they've come here to see some fabulous competition, all sanctioned by IMSA. No worries about your tyre choice today. Continental slick tyres, it's bone dry on the Watkins Glen International Circuit. On the pit lane, two different flavours of prototype challenge cars. They're pretty easy to tell apart. The LMP3 cars have a roof and a red number panel. The Mazda Prototype Challenge, or MPC cars, have no roof and a blue number panel. An inline 4-cylinder engine, 2 litres capacity, powers the open-topped cars, as Paul Fix's 44 closed-top car gets a little helping hand to fire up its V8 5-litre engine that pushes that car along. Andreas Gutierrez leads the LMP3 standings by 18 points over Colin Thompson and Lonnie Pechnik, who are tied in second position. As far as Mazda Prototype Challenge is concerned, Kyle Masson has a handy 30-point advantage over Tazio Otis, but Brian Alder and Gary Gibson in third and fourth position have just 4 points between them. Well, the field are forming up now behind the Mazda MX-5 safety car, so we'll be racing at the Glen very shortly. Glorious, sonorous rumble from the 5-litre V8 of the LMP3 cars at the front of the IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda. 6 chassis manufacturers allowed to make those LMP3 cars, and 4 are represented here. And that's the most you'll see in any competition worldwide. Qualifying was fast and furious, with Colin Thompson stealing away pole position in the dying moments from Kenton Koch, who starts on the outside of the front row. Andreas Gutierrez, the championship leader, is on row 2. Mazda Prototype Challenge sees a pole-winning streak from Kyle Masson continuing. And you will notice there's LMP3 cars mixed into that MPC field. It's not a split start in this championship. You qualify where your time puts you on the grid. Race control asking the drivers to bunch up, get side by side for the 2x2 start. The safety car is in the pit lane, which means Colin Thompson has control of the field as they come round onto the start-finish straight at Watkins Glen. Let's go to my IMSA Radio colleagues, Jeremy Shaw and first Shea Adam.
Very obedient drivers, eager to go 2x2. They come to the green flag, and Colin Thompson with an excellent start over Kenton Koch in that number 8 machine. Andres Gutierrez, though, making no bones about the fact that he wants to play with the top 2, goes wide through turn 1, manages to pull it back on track, and it appears, Jeremy Shaw, as if everybody made it through safely.
That's a shocker. That's good to see. Sorry, is what I meant to say. And yeah, the cars all filing up now through the S's. It is those 3 LMP3 cars out in front at the moment is Colin Thompson, but Kenton Koch is hot on his heels, and Andres Gutierrez, who has saved a set of fresh tyres for this race for the Performance Tech Motorsports team in car number 12, that brightly liveried the candy-coloured car, if you like. There it is on our screen, and he is in the third position. Top three cars, pretty much nose to tail to head down toward turn 6.
Bright orange, yellow, and green, almost as if a highlighter pack has exploded upon the number 12. That is Andres Gutierrez, and he's hanging on. Now, in qualifying, we saw a bit of discrepancy between the top two and then the rest of the field. Andres Gutierrez was really the only one who managed to stay within the same ballpark. But for Colin Thompson, the pole sitter in the number 14, the Norma spec of the LMP3 car, it was all go for him. He was slippery and fast through the fast parts. The advantage now goes to Kenton Cook, who gets to follow in his draft along those parts of the track.
Yeah, that Norma M30 of Colin Thompson, he is just thrilled with that car. It's been fast from the beginning of the season. And Colin Thompson, well, we know how good he is. He's already won a championship in the GT3 Porsche series prior to this season. This is the first time he's been back to Watkins Glen since winning the championship in GT3 Cup a couple of years ago, and absolutely loving it at the wheel of these cars. 2
IMSA champions already in first and second. Colin with that Porsche championship. Kenton having won the equivalent of the MPC class only 2 years ago. He not only won the class, he dominated. And Jeremy, you said the other day, Kenton is now the winningest driver in this series.
Indeed so, yeah, with 12 wins to his name. He broke the tie with Tristan Nunez, and is now on his own in the record book. There's Jay Salmon pulling off the road. That's the second of the ODU engineering cars. Looks rather smoky at the back end, but looking back to the bus stop is we see second place Kenton Cook really coming under pressure from the 17-year-old Andres Gutierrez from Monterrey, Mexico, flying along there in that number 12 car. The Ligier in second and third. It's a Norma M30 out in front.
For Andres Gutierrez, he's returning to this track, having raced it last year in this series. He was in was an MPC car. 5th place, 6th place, and 4th place, as we had a triple header that weekend. Weather was quite a bit different, and honestly, I'm surprised it's not raining right now. But so far this weekend, this year, Andres has proven himself very, very well. 2 seconds, a win, and a 3rd place. He's eager to get back to that top step, though. He knows what the other steps of the podium were like, but he really liked that middle one.
Yes, indeed, and it was a great run by him last time out to take that first win. A good way to start the season at Sebring with a 2nd and a 3rd, and then at Circuit Americas, where we see full course yellow. Not sure whether
Probably
that's because of that number 46 car that was pulled off the racetrack. And Andres Gutierrez holds a pretty commanding 18-point lead over Colin Thompson in the championship.
Now, this is going to be advantage to Kenton Cook. He was under attack from the number 12 behind him on the new tires as Jay Salmon's engine expired quite vividly. And so he would have been pulled off on the racetrack. Where is that, turn 1?
Turn 1. Did a good job there, Shay, of as soon as that engine let go, pulled it over to the inside of the racetrack, making sure that because there were cars behind him, he didn't pull over too abruptly. Everybody else was able to get around him and able to pull that car offline pretty quickly. So I think this should be a pretty quick clean-up before we get back underway, hopefully. And he was able to pull that car off onto the grass before the corner. So heads-up driving from Jay Salmon.
Safety car lights did go out, but now they are back on.
Colin's he's got his lucky charm here this weekend. Dog Cooper is here to cheer him on, and as of course it's the entire family. John Thompson, Colin's dad, is a very accomplished racer in his own right, particularly in the Atlantic days, and Colin is kind of a chip off the old block, and he's fast and he's out front now, and he's planning to stay there.
At least one more lap behind the Mazda MX-5 safety car. It is the hardtop version, Jeremy. I'm very envious of it,
yes.
and the driver. So in this series, we have two classes of cars. We have the LMP3, which are the closed cockpit, and the MPC. We've talked a great deal about the LMP3 and those contenders, but in MPC, it's been a fairly one-sided battle for the course of the year. Young Kyle Masson, who's another one of those kids having a phenomenal year, came out of Daytona 24 Hours wearing a brand new Rolex, went to Sebring, won that too with Pato O'Ward and James French. He's again this weekend in the 38 Performance Tech car, but this is his main focus. This is his championship. What I found kind of funny is that he himself, having only done 2 races, is still 3rd in the PC championship in the IMSA WeatherTech division. But for Kyle, a youngster, he's out of Central Florida, and if you know your Mazda-based drivers, Spencer Piggott went to the exact same school that Kyle Masson is still enrolled in.
Yeah, from Windermere in Florida, that's right. Same as Cameron Lawrence is from Windermere, Florida as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
From a suburb of Orlando. And Kyle started off at Skip Barber Racing School and loved it so much. He went there with his dad initially. His dad had so much fun that he is in this race as well. Very accomplished spinal surgeon is Robert Masson, and he is running at the moment in the 11th position overall. And that's 4th in MPC. That's a very impressive run for Robert in that 11th position overall. But Kyle, yeah, he's fast. He's been clearly the class of the field in MPC this season. Won all of the 4 races from the pole position and set fastest lap as well, which for 2017 is worth a championship point for the very first time. So he has a perfect score of 84 coming into this weekend.
He leads Tazio Otis, who's got 54 points, and then Brian Alder, who is not participating in the race this weekend. He's given up his seat to one of his drivers because Brian Alder Racing, Bar 1, has elected to wear the team cap this weekend, and then, of course, participate in the Salem 6 Hours with Glenn.
No, maybe. I spoke to him last night, and his name is on the car.
Yeah.
He's got 2 drivers signed up, Derek Jones and
Gustavo
Jackerman, who's going to drive that car for sure. And he was still fishing around last night trying to find a 3rd driver. And if he could find somebody, then he was going to step out. I don't think he was able to do so, was he? So I think it will be perhaps Brian taking a stint in that car tomorrow. But yeah, you're right, giving up his 3rd position in the championship for this weekend. Don Yount, who is a regular with this team in the PC class, just wanted to get a bit more track time this weekend, so he's going to do, and he has a veteran in this championship in any case, is Don. He's done a lot of races in the past. He's done 42 races in this championship over the last several years, made his debut actually way back in 2008 at Road Atlanta, so a veteran driver who knows his way around here, and it's a good opportunity to get some more track time. 2nd
in the L1 Masters category in 2015. So again, successful as the safety car is back in the pit lane, and we are back to green flag conditions. Andres Gutierrez making a move on Kenton Cook as they come down the front straight through the oil dry, and Colin Thompson is loving this. He is going to just check out. Andres still looking down the inside. Better part of Valor backs out of it. Kenton maintains 2nd, but now he knows that Andres Gutierrez is serious.
That was, Kenton's caught a little bit napping there coming out of the final corner, and it was a great restart by Andres. And hats off to Andres there, because he was on the oil dry all the way down the hill towards turn 1. And when he got down on the inside line, he elected to back out and allow Kenton Cook to maintain that 2nd position.
Kenton Cook taking a lot of curb, but Andres Gutierrez taking to the grass as they come through the bus stop. That will give Kenton a little bit of breathing space. They were side by side going into that first part of the bus stop. That was very, very tight. Not teammates running the same chassis, but absolutely not teammates. No team orders there.
Absolutely not. And Andres Gutierrez, he pulled alongside Kenton on the run toward the bus stop. He's on the outside line there. Left his braking just a little bit too late. Carried too much speed into the right-hander. Ran across the grass, and with the grass still wet from a shower, about an hour and a half or so ago, that'll have cooled down those tires significantly. So it's given Kenton Cook a pretty good break in that 2nd position.
So Jeremy, now we have a situation where we have a person all on his own in the form of Colin Thompson, no teammate. Kenton Cook has a teammate. He's currently back in 5th. So Andres Gutierrez would be hypothetically receiving pressure from the the green and black car of Naj Hussein. If Robbie Foley can get around Naj Hussein and then start reeling in Andres Gutierrez, that factor of having a teammate might help. And Naj Hussein has had a big crash coming out just before the final turn. He is nosed into the barrier. The front part of his car is off to driver's left. The entire chassis is off to driver's right. Nose and tail of the car are separated.
Yeah, that's a big crash. It looks like he lost control on the curb on the exit of the corner. It looks like
too much curb.
Replay. Yeah, got on the power. Got on the power a little bit too soon there, over the curb, and Kyle Masson there, who was running right with those two LMP3 cars. They got a heck of a lot more horsepower, the V8s in the PC cars, but Kyle was hanging right in there. Also a spin on that same lap for car number 34.
John Brownson.
Yep, the veteran driver. This is a 113th start in this championship. Naj, good to see he's okay. He's clambering out of that very badly damaged number 3 Ligier.
Very, very strong built cars are those Ligier. They have very strong tubs, and the more debris that you see scattered, that's normally a good thing. That means that the energy is being dissipated and it's not going through the driver. Naj actually walking away from the car, looking back at it. I don't know if that'll be repaired for tomorrow. He was the one that we were expecting to inherit the LMP3 Masters points lead coming out of this weekend. Now all Paul Fix has to do is bring it home, and he will be in really good standing. He's got 50 points coming into the weekend compared to Lonnie Pechnik's 80, but Paul Fix now stands to receive the most LMP3 Masters points of anyone.
There's a replay of what happened. You just put a wheel over the curb. Boy, that went round so fast on Naj Hussein. And yeah, these cars are fast, and you know, it's still only running what was only, I think, the second lap after the restart. So the Continental tires perhaps not yet completely up to fully operating temperature, and it just the car bit hard there on Naj Hussein. A huge wreck. The car just catapulted across the road from that curb on the right-hand side of the track over the left and into heavy impact with that barrier on the left-hand side.
Safety car lights are out. It heads to the pit lane. The IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda here at Watkins Glen International about to go back to green. Thanks to our corner workers, the recovery team, and of course track services for getting us ready to go. Jeremy Shaw and Shea Adam have the action.
Let's try this again. So Colin Thompson again, great start off the line, jumps out quite a bit. This time Kenton Cook does not have a threat from Andres Gutierrez behind him. There goes Tazio Otto. See, he was listening to us, Jeremy. We just helped him pass 2 cars in 1 corner.
Good. And Kyle Masson has got past, I think he's got past Robbie Foley there.
Oh my
gosh. A stout effort by Kyle. He was shadowing both Naj Hussein and Robbie Foley before that red flag stopped, the caution-causing incident involving Naj Hussein. As we see, Otis now under intense pressure as they go down the back straight.
And good on him. That is Robert Masson, who is pressuring the youngster, Tazio Otis, and he is not letting that 72 car out of his sight. The number 11 now dropping back just a tiny little bit into the clutches of Gary Gibson, and the number 13, the bright red MPC car, with another bright red MPC car behind him. That's the 22. That's the car that's normally driven by Brian Alder. Not this weekend. It's still Brian's number, but just not him behind the wheel. And then we find Stuart Reddy. What a comeback for the blue MPC car, driving with the Scottish Lion on the side and the Scottish colors, the blue, and silver's close enough to white. We'll let him away with it. But good to see him up battling for position in this race. We were worried that we weren't even going to see him in the race, Jeremy.
Don Yount challenging Gary Gibson. They're going into turn 8, just backing out of it at the last minute, tucking in behind. That's a good battle there for position. The tail end of the top 10 and maybe 11th, 12th positions as we watch to see the race leaders come past us. And a good lap there by Kenton Cook. He was able to close in a little bit on Colin Thompson. That time he set the new fastest lap of the race to Kenton Cook in second place, 1:45.8. We're still a couple of 3 seconds away from the qualifying times of these cars, but they're getting some heat into these Continental tyres now and be able to up the pace considerably.
And they are well more fueled than they were at the end of the qualifying session when they were setting those incredibly fast lap times, because these cars would have been prepared for the entire 45-minute race, not just maybe a 20-minute qualifying session. So they do weigh quite a bit more.
Yeah.
But for Kenton to claw back time in Sector 3, that's what he's going to need to do, because through Sector 1, the Norma will always be faster. Ooh, Robert Masson made a little bit of a bold move trying to come through the bus stop and might lose 2 positions.
He messed it up, I think, is what happened.
Yeah.
And he lost, you're right, lost 2 positions, I think.
He lost a position to Gary Gibson. Now he's under pressure from Don Yount in the number 22, and Stuart Reddy's right there as well. So that could cost Robert Masson 3 positions from 1 attempt to gain maybe a half a car length.
Yeah.
But again, inexperience. He's brand new to racing. As somebody has looped it coming out of the toe of the boot, just up the hill. That's a very scary place to stop, Jeremy, because you can see cars coming up to you.
I was thinking that's Kyle Masson. I saw the colours of the car and thinking, wait a minute, it was the 4th and 5th and 6th place cars we saw go through the corner, and it was a car that obviously it had been ahead of them. That is Kyle Masson, who's looped it coming out of the toe of the boot, and he is going to rejoin at the back of the field. Don't think there was any contact with anybody. Doesn't seem to be any damage on the car. Having a look at a replay here, we can see.
Well, maybe with Chris Wright. Chris Wright in the number 7. The white MPC car was right on his tail.
Surprisingly.
That could have been a little bit of naughtiness going on there. Chris Wright now inherits the lead. Then it's Michael Klemecki, then Tazio Otis, Gary Gibson, Robert Masson, Don Yount, Stuart Reddy, Tim George, Joel Janko. As you can tell, many, many positions lost for Kyle Masson. He's gone back from 5th overall. He is now 21st. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a...
if he wants to keep up his winning streak, he's got a lot of work cut out for him in 17 minutes.
He's got his work cut out there, yeah, so he's a long, long way behind the leaders. They are headed, well, they're already through the bus stop. As we're watching car number 11, that's Kyle's father, Robert, heading through there in a 12th position now. But the race leaders well out in front. Colin Thompson set a new fastest lap of the race last time around, 1:44.873, 10th of a second quicker than Kenton Cook. Andres Gutierrez was only a few tenths of a second back in lap time, but already 2 seconds behind the leaders in 3rd place in car number 12. Robbie Foley now a pretty lowly 4th position, ahead of James Dayson. And now it's Chris Wright in 6th position, who leads the Mazda Prototype Challenge cars, the MPC cars, and the category in 6th place overall. That is car number 7.
As the leaders of the race overall come by beneath our feet, Colin Thompson set a personal best and overall best sectors 1 and 3. He did not get the best sector 2 because that went to Kenton Cook that last time around. The gap between them is now 7/10 of a second. A further second back is Andres Gutierrez, so there's quite a bit of discrepancy between the top 3 at this stage in the race with just over 15 minutes remaining. But Kenton is not letting Colin run away just quite yet, as Colin gets a bit wiggly coming out of the bus stop. Andres Gutierrez's tow hook has popped up. That, to me, seems to happen every race. That one of the Ligier tow hooks just comes up. It's not making any difference. It's a circle, that it's a very thin piece of metal, but it's got to be a mental thing.
Yeah, thankfully you won't be able to see it at least. But as the 2 leaders come through the toe of the boot one more time, 11 laps in the books. This is lap 12. Colin Thompson still under pressure from Kenton Cook, certainly. And Andres Gutierrez not that far behind him, less than a couple of seconds back in the 3rd position. And through the first sector on this lap, Colin Thompson sets a purple time there, fastest of all through that first part of the racetrack. In the second part of the racetrack, Kenton Cook able to close in a little bit. Still less than a second separating the 2 leaders.
It was advantage Colin plus 4/10 in sector 1 and advantage Kenton plus 0.6 in Sector 2. So right now, as they cross the start-finish line, Kenton should have gained 0.2. Let's see what happened in Sector 3. Kenton, okay, so Kenton lost 1/10 on that lap after all that battling back and forth, but Colin Thompson runs very wide out of turn 1 in the number 14, which should give Kenton a better ability to draft.
Shea Adam and Jeremy Shaw calling the action here at Watkins Glen International. And with 14 minutes to go, the top 3 are on the same part of the racetrack as they head into the inner loop. The run to the checkered flag at Watkins Glen International is next.
They may not look it on the racetrack, but Colin Thompson and Kenton Cook are involved in a very intense mental fight right now. They keep trading these tenths. Sector 1, I got you. Sector 2, no, I got you. And then Sector 3, it keeps going back and forth between who gets a better time.
It does, Shay, you're right. And certainly Kenton seems particularly strong in the middle sector. That's the run from the end of the S's onto the back straightaway, all the way through the bus stop, the very fast turn, right-hand turn at turn 5, the downhill at turn 6, the toe of the boot turn 7, and up the hill to the end of that middle sector. That is where Kenton is really using, is gaining the most speed compared to Colin Thompson. But Colin Thompson is very fast through the first sector and the third as well. Goes purple again that time. A new fastest race lap for Colin Thompson last time around in our race leading car number 14. Chris Wright, meanwhile, has got a handy lead of almost 5 seconds in MPC, running in the 6th position overall. Chris now in car number 7. He's splitting his time this year between the Mazda Road to Indy open wheel cars and the Mazda Prototype Challenge cars as well. He's had some good results already this year in MPC. He has finished on the podium just once. He's had some disappointing races since then, so he's looking to put it all together here this afternoon and perhaps looking at his first victory.
He's somebody who's also familiar with the way that IMSA runs, having been in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge before. So he has run at the Glen on Continentals before. That was just in a Porsche, not in an open cockpit MPC car. He finished 16th in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge last year at Watkins Glen. And he's also done a bit of World Challenge racing. So he's got a broad horizon in terms of what he's been through at a very young age.
That's right, drove one of the Kias in World Challenge for Nick Johnson, who is his driver coach and mentor. And Nick Johnson spends a lot of time with Chris. And Chris, he started off this season in the Coupetage USF 2000 Championship powered by Mazda. That's the first step on the Mazda Road to Indy. Last weekend, though, at Road America, he stepped up into the Pro Mazda Championship presented by Coupetage, which is the middle step for the first time. Gave a good account of himself as well there. And he's just getting more and more experience and using that experience to good effect.
John Brownson just thought about making a move down the inside of the number 32. That's Paul LaHaye. And then decided to back out of it, thought better of it.
New fastest lap of the race once again by our race leader, Colin Thompson, last time around at 1:43.8. Another couple of tenths of a second he added to his lead over car number 8, Kenton Cook. And Andres Gutierrez still hanging on there in the 3rd position. He lost a little bit of ground on that last lap as well, but running a very, very comfortable 3rd. And that is going to be quite sufficient to maintain a pretty good championship lead.
Right now, Kyle Masson is dealing with something he hasn't had to yet this year. It's not back marker traffic, it's fighting for position. So right now, he came up upon the battle between Paul LaHaye and John Brownson, and then actually had to slow down because Paul LaHaye was braking much earlier for turn 1 than Masson wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, he's significantly quicker than anybody else in the MPC classes. Kyle Masson up to the 18th position overall now, and that'll be...
Make that 17th.
Make that 17th, okay, fine. As he gets ahead of John Brownson then, does he?
Yep.
And his last lap was a 1:48.4, the race leader in MPC. Chris Wright, a 1:48.3. Everybody else is in either the 49s or the 50s, so significantly quicker than anybody else, but time is ticking away. We've got less than 10 minutes remaining now in this 45-minute race.
The fastest lap times continue to appear from our top 3 personal best for second and third, Kenton Cook and Andres Gutierrez in the 8 and 12 respectively. Another overall best lap for Colin Thompson in the 14 Norma. As the fuel continues to burn off, the cars get lighter and Colin just seems to get faster.
And once again, it shows that I think how effective these Continental tyres are, because you're right, as the fuel load is burning off, the car is getting a little bit lighter, but the Continental tyre is staying consistent, and because the car is a little bit lighter, it's able to go a little bit faster. And a succession of fastest laps by Colin Thompson. That lead now out to 2.4 seconds over Kenton Cook. This is a clinic being put on by Colin Thompson in car number 14.
Very impressive drive from Colin. You have to wonder what this race will look like tomorrow, Jeremy Shaw, when there is a little bit of moisture in the air.
Oh, Michael Klamaki has pulled off the racetrack in car number 31.
That was our second place MPC car. He was in 7th overall. So now we have Chris Wright, Tazio Otis, Don Yount.
Yeah.
Oh, if Brian Alder had not decided not to race this one, he was in 3rd in the championship standings. He would have put himself in a much better standing position. Full course
yellow.
Caution.
Yeah, that's a dangerous position. Michael Klamaki has pulled off on the road on the outside of the S's, the entrance to the S's, so just down the bottom of the hill from turn 1 exit. And that car seems to be dead in the water. He's got no motive power there at all, it would seem. The IMSA safety truck pulls up behind him.
If they can get him moved relatively quickly, that throws the cat amongst the pigeons again.
Doesn't seem to be any trail of anything nasty behind him on the racetrack, so that's the good news. If they can get that car hooked up and pulled out of the way, we should have time to go back to green, but certainly that isn't what Colin Thompson wanted. He'd been pulling away, edging away little by little at the front of the field, pulled out a pretty commanding lead over Kenton Cook, and this is going to set up the stage for what could be a very interesting finish.
It's exactly what Andres Gutierrez wanted though, Jeremy.
Oh, yes.
He was 4 seconds back of Kenton Cook, and remember, every restart we've had so far, it's been Andres Gutierrez has been the one to watch because, well, aside from the bright yellow, orange, and green car, he's been making these moves on Kenton Cook, letting him know he's there. Could we see a dive from 3rd to 1st? Maybe?
Yeah, I doubt it. I think Andres, he leads the championship, as we said, but I believe the plan is for him not to race next weekend at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The Gutierrez family had made a family commitment for a holiday in Europe for next week, or next couple of weeks, I think it is. So he was always planning on missing that race next weekend, so that's not going to do his championship aspirations any good, and that certainly is going to play into the hands of Colin Thompson.
Yeah, what Andres Gutierrez would like to do, Jeremy, is get ahead of Colin here and try and increase his championship lead. That's not happening at the moment. And with the safety car lights out, as they head through towards the toe of the boot, it will be around about 5 minutes of racing to find out who takes maximum points here at Watkins Glen International.
Colin Thompson weaving gently back and forth, 4.5 minutes. He will have to defend the first position if he wants to get another win.
We've seen the last couple of restarts, Colin's made a really good restart, able to edge out a little bit over Kenton Cook. He's making sure he keeps temperature in those Continental tires, weaving from left to right. Now he comes through the final corner, gets on the hammer.
Colin weaving a lot. Kenton just staying calm, looking ahead, but Andres Gutierrez is also looking ahead, and you almost can't see his Ligier for Colin.
Defending
Kenton.
out the inside into turn 1 from Gutierrez there, Shay.
That was a very good move. Kenton made a move to defend the inside line. Andres Gutierrez juked back to the outside, and Kenton did not cut back across. He respected the fact and still made the corner work from his line.
That's right. You're allowed to make a defensive move, but not a reactionary move. And if Kenton had pulled back to the outside line, that would be potentially a penalty. He's under pressure again as they head toward the bus stop.
That would have been blocking, but no, everything is good. And Colin Thompson already running away. Half a second advantage in the first sector alone. He now is 1 second over Kenton Cook in second place.
The guy this does benefit potentially is car number 18, Kyle Masson. We saw him spin earlier on at the exit of turn 7, and this now is going to enable him to make up a lot of ground to lead. He's still got quite a few cars to get past, but he's now knocking on the door of the top 10. He was 13th as he came across the line to begin this restart lap.
Excuse me, pardon me, coming through, excuse
Coming
me.
through.
Now, when he gets up to his father, Robert Masson, in the number 11, does Dad let him go by?
You damn well better do. Otherwise, it's going to be a very interesting dinner tonight at that family get together, I can tell you.
See, if it was my dad, he would be blocking.
Yes, that's true. No, Robert's not doing this for a career. Kyle is looking at it as a career, so Dad will make it as easy. But I mean, whoops, Kyle is so much faster. We see a spin there for car number 38. That is Stephen Dawes, a rookie this season. Another of the Performance Tech cars.
One of the employees of Performance Tech who's making his foray into racing. So come on, Stephen, you can get it fired back up and pointing in the right direction. There you go. And he resumes, so we should be clear to go. Just seeing what happened. Oh, he got a little too sucked in by Joel Janko in the number 25. Left his braking a little bit later than he probably should have, but no harm, no foul. Back up at the front, Kenton Cook put in the fastest Sector 2 time again, and Colin Thompson has responded by putting in the fastest Sector 1 time again.
Yeah, that Norma is really fleet, isn't it? From the start-finish line all the way through turn 1, up through the S's and onto the back straight. And then the rest of the track is where Kenton Cook really does shine, particularly through the bus stop and then down the hill through turn 6, where those cars are right now. And the two leaders absolutely nose to tail as they head down the hill towards the toe of the boot. And Colin Thompson defending on the inside.
A minute and a half remaining. That's this lap and one more. We should be seeing the white flag as the cars cross the start-finish line this time by, which they will be doing in about 30 seconds. Now you can't see the Ligier for the Norma because they are so close together. Kenton Cook smells blood in the water, and he wants a win.
He does, and I've got to assume that Colin must have made a bit of a mistake at the bus stop on that lap to enable Kenton Cook to get this much closer, because I think now that, yeah, Colin Thompson is defending a little bit as they come off turn 10, come into turn 10. There's nothing between, less than a car length between these two cars.
Kenton Cook is riled up now. Colin Thompson, when he won his IMSA GT3 championship, didn't have this kind of competition. Both of these gentlemen will be smiling as wide as they can underneath their helmets. White flag is out. Colin Thompson does not have this race won yet. The gap is down to 4/10, the lowest it has been since the restart.
And back in MPC, it's still Chris Wright with a handy lead over Tazio Ortiz. In third place is Don Yount, but really under intense pressure going to turn 1 from Kyle Masson, who's easily got past his dad on that last lap, and he's all over the rear end of Don Yount going into the uphill S's. But what a good lap this time. This time Colin Thompson's got his head down again through that first sector, edged out just a little bit. Once again through that first sector, 3/10 quicker than Kenton Cook. And tell you what, Andres Gutierrez, he's not far behind there, is he, in third place?
If it ends in tears for our top two, it could very easily be that highlighter, orange, yellow, and green car from Performance Tech and Andres Gutierrez sweeping through for the win. But the advantage was Colin through Sector 1. The advantage as they just come to the exit of Sector 2 will definitely be Kenton Cook.
I think on that last lap, Colin Thompson was using his mirrors a bit too much. Yes. I reckon that Mr. Stone will be on the phone there to him on the radio from the Kelly Moss team, saying, "Hey, focus forward, Colin. You've got this race won. You've got the fastest car out there. You set the fastest lap of the race. Focus forward, not behind, and bring it home."
One thing that's classy, though, I have not seen Kenton Cook using his headlight button at all. That is a very well-known tactic to try and distract the driver ahead. Kenton has been trying to outdrive Colin, but you cannot beat the Norma in terms of top speed as Colin Thompson comes to the start-finish line. Win number 2 on the season for him. Congratulations to the number 14. Kenton Cook brings it home second, ahead of Andres Gutierrez in third. And Robbie Foley making his debut in this series and in cars with downforce comes home fourth. In terms of our MPC, Chris Wright first win for that youngster. Congratulations to the number 7. Tazio Otis comes home second in the number 72. And what a drive back from Kyle Masson. 18, it was way, way, way down the charts in 21st. He finishes in 8th overall.
Watkins Glen International playing host to an exciting IMSA Prototype Challenge presented by Mazda round. And our winner, Colin Thompson, celebrating down at the runoff area at turn number 1. He's on the podium along with Kenton Cook, who had a race-long battle for the victory. Andres Gutierrez coming home in 3rd overall and in LMP3. Chris Wright winning the MPC category ahead of Tazio Otis. Paul Fix in 13th position, 7th in the LMP3 field. Well, the story for the second race of the weekend was rain, rain, and more rain. Standing water on the circuit at Watkins Glen International, making it treacherous. Tim George losing the 24 car and hitting the tyre wall before the green flag. He wasn't the only one, as Jay Salmon lost it on a straight piece of track and made heavy contact with the Armco barriers. When that was cleaned up and we did come round to the green flag, Colin Thompson from pole position spun to the inside of the track and then pulled forward Don Yount, the unlucky driver in the red MPC number 22, who had nowhere to go. Joel Janko coming down the hill towards turn number 1, just couldn't get the car stopped and went straight on. Heavy contact with the tyre barrier for Joel. At the end of a topsy-turvy race, it was Andres Gutierrez without the windscreen wiper on who took the checkered flag. 2nd overall, Kyle Masson took the top spot of the podium for MPC.
The race was kind of a weird race, you know. There was a lot of yellow flags because of the rain. There was a lot of chaos. And my objective for the race was just to keep it clean, and I knew that if I kept it clean, the others in front were gonna mess up, and that happened in the start. Colin just spun when he got on power, and I just went on slowly. And I'm really happy to get this result. You know, yesterday we struggled in the drive, but when I woke up and saw the rain, I knew there was an opportunity. So yeah, I'm really happy to get this win, and thank you to all Performance Tech and everyone involved in this project. And yeah, it was an awesome race.
And an important win for Andres Gutierrez, who will miss the next 2 rounds at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. He's going up there with a 16-point lead from Colin Thompson. Kenton Cook closing in on 3rd position of Naj Hussain.
So today's race was interesting. The start, the pole sitter crashed, and it caused the order to get all messed up. And so when the race went yellow the first time, they switched our orders, and I was in 2nd overall, and they put me back in 4th. We went green, did a lap. I ended up having that 1 lap get my way back up to 2nd. 2nd overall, 1st in class. And then we went yellow for the rest of the race and had 1 lap at the end. That was all there is to it. It was a very tricky race when it went green. The cars were oversteering, understeering everywhere, but there wasn't much to be said about it because it was yellow 98% of the race. So
Kyle Masson came into the weekend with a 30-point lead. He's added another 8 to that over Tazio Otis in 2nd position. Chris Wright, who won the first race of the weekend, 47 points back from the championship leader. Next up, another old-school motor racing track with Canadian Tire Motorsports Park next on the schedule as the IMSA Prototype Challenge heads north of the border to Bowmanville, Ontario. For our hard-working production crew, as well as Shea Adam and Jeremy Shaw in the broadcast booth, I'm John Hindorf. Thanks for being with us. There'll be more great action next time from the IMSA Prototype Challenge, presented by Mazda.